Welcome. This is going to be rather unique because how many have heard of agape? Y'all heard of agape, okay. What is, okay, when you're talking about agape, you're supposed to agape God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and your neighbor as yourself, right? And we get all kinds of confused because we don't understand the culture and we think it has to do with something totally different. So I'm going to explain, let the Bible explain exactly what agape is and how it's done. So there's no confusion. Also, we have several verses that people don't understand about fighting good and evil. And I'm going to explain that because how many are tired of getting beaten by the world, right? How do you handle evil? How do you overcome evil? You ever wonder about that? I mean, you got evil. I mean, I hate my boss, or I hate that person I have to work with, or whatever, or this person will not shut up about me. Whatever no one's had that situation, huh? Nobody? Okay. No. You guys are awesome, all right? You must be. All right. So the question is, what do you do, right? You ever had that question? I mean, what do I do? Can't shoot him. I mean, you can, but it's not according to the word. It's not exactly love. All right, that's not it. So what is it you do? How do you handle someone who won't, is always causing no end of problems for you and for everybody else? So what do you do? And these interesting questions. So it's not just knowing the word, you got to what? Apply it. So we're going to begin right now. And Father, thank you for the greatness of your word. And thank you for helping me to teach it. So let your word express itself the way you want it to be done. That the Bible interprets itself, your word interprets itself. That we can see without any doubt, without any cloudiness, with precision, to really glorify you in this day and time. As we do our utmost to walk in your shadow, holding your hand, and to walk in the footsteps of your firstborn from the dead are risen, and return, Lord Jesus, your anointed. Now, when we talk about verses of Scripture, people, well, that's what this says, but I don't believe that part of the Bible. Either it's all of it or what? None of it. It's just the way it is. So we're going to start off, this is the true way of life, how to apply the word to get the results of the word. So, and of course, this is a different culture. So the subject matter is overcoming evil. And everybody goes, well, what's evil? That's a good question. It's the opposite of what? Good. And we're going to find out how this works. How do you do it? So by the example, how many have ever tried to ride a bicycle? When you first tried to ride a bicycle, the first time you tried to ride one, right? If you'd never seen a bicycle, would it have made sense when people tell you what to do? It would have made absolutely what? No sense. Because, you're going to have this two wheels and you're going to ride them. You're going to split yourself over the two wheels and run perfect. What? You need someone to what? Show you. You have to have someone show you how to do it. And you go, I understand. Even though you see it, that person is doing it, and you get your little bootay on the little seat, and you pedal a little bit, you still fall over. Boom, 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 right. So you have to keep trying until you get it, so you have that, you learn balance, you learn, okay, I got it, and then you have it. But only through practice. Well, the whole Bible's like that, because it's all growth and development. So there's the boo-boos are evil, right? And getting to your destination without falling down and getting boo-boos is, when I say boo-boos, it's like damage, So we have this phrase in Romans 12, 19 through 21. Dearly beloved, and it's agapetos, which means those who are walking in agape. Avenge not yourselves. Now, what does that mean? You ever had someone do something to you and you're like, they have to sleep sometime. No, isn't that what you do? I mean, you think, like, okay, how am I going to get back at them? The object is don't waste your time on that. Don't even think about it, right? Don't expend any single neuron in trying to figure out how to get back at them, because God's already got it. But rather give place on the wrath. Okay, just let your wrath go out. No, that's not what it's talking about. Let God handle it. For it is written, vengeance is mine. I will repay, saith the Lord. So when someone does something stupid to you, hurts you, steps on your heart or whatever, then you don't worry about it. You just stop thinking about it. Don't think about them. God will handle it, and he always does. Does that make sense? All right. Now the next question, the next statement is, therefore, if thy enemy, now that's the problem, because when you're talking about an enemy, it's not talking about the guy who wants to kill you. It's the guy who happens to be your co-worker. He's the word there, and enemy, it doesn't mean enemy like wants to kill you. It's the adversary who is deriding you, hassling you, tripping you up, trying to make you look bad. That's what this is about. It has nothing to do with the enemy. Like it's not a warfare here. It's talking about a person who, it could be your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle. It could be, anyone know what I'm talking about? Does anyone have that situation? It's something you really can't, strangle them, That's what it means, lay hands suddenly on no man. That's not what I'm talking about. But the object here is there's somebody that's going to be doing something, saying something bad about you, and whatever, and you just don't expend any energy on your brain cells to even think about it. Just let them go. God will handle it. Therefore, if thy enemy, and that's someone who is a part of your life, who is like a major thorn in your side. Therefore, if thy enemy, that person, a part of your life, not the enemy who's trying to kill you, make sure you understand this, right? If your enemy hunger, what? Feed him. Feed him. Cook for him. Provide food. No, that's not what it's talking about. It's not what it's talking about. Everybody thinks, well, it's got to be feeding them. Just stuff them full of all kinds of crackers. No, it's not talking about that. Give them lots of tortillas. No, that's not what it's talking about. In the Bible, there's spiritual food, right? We're talking about, the knowledge and wisdom of God. That's not talking about, hunger like I want a taco or an enchilada or something. Therefore, thy enemy, the person who's a part of your family or part of your life, I'm not talking about husband and wives, but it can be. But anyway, but if that person hunger, feed him, right? So you provide him the word. Give him instruction. Remember, there's doctrine, then what? Reproof, and what? Correction. You can't give someone reproof until they've had what? Doctrine. You can't give them correction until you first gave them doctrine and reproof. Because it doesn't make no sense, The child does something, you go, you so stupid. And you're like, what did I do? I don't know. You didn't teach them the first time. You can't say you're wrong if you haven't given them doctrine first. So never give people correction or reproof unless you first make sure they understand doctrine. And that's where the hunger comes in. They obviously are hungry because they made this stupid mistake and they lack what? Knowledge. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. If he thirsts, give him drink. And of course, this is what Jesus did. He provided understanding, which was no one else had ever done. So the idea is knowledge and then understanding. Well, what happens in between? That's God's job. God gives wisdom. Does that make sense? All right. So to show it in Matthew 5:6, blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after what? And that's what the whole Bible is for. It doesn't provide you tacos. It doesn't provide you bread. It doesn't provide any physical thing. It provides that which is for hunger of your heart, your soul, and your mind. It has nothing to do with physical things will as a byproduct, but not as the main component. Does that make sense? You first got to have that which is your heart and your soul first, for they shall be filled. So that's what the word does. It fills that. All right. Poof. Okay. For in so doing, thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head. Yeah, finally. No, that's not what it's talking about. We think you want to just pour these coals of fire on their head. That's what agape is all about. No, it's not what agape is about. That's a, toast their brain cells. I gotcha. No, that's not what this vengeance is about. This has nothing to do with it. Because what we're talking about is a lack of knowledge, a lack of what? Wisdom and understanding. And so what happens is, so we have this food, we have this drink, and we have coals of fire. And this is dealing with knowledge, wisdom, and what? Understanding. Because that's all the Bible gives. And of course, that's in Proverbs, first chapters of Proverbs. And then Jesus personifies it. So what are we talking about? So let's find out a little bit about what we're talking about. This is okay, let me back up a little bit here. All right, because we're talking about an enemy, a person who's your adversary, your uncle, your aunt, your brother, your sister, mother, brother, whatever. This adversary, right, thinks he perceives something that's not true. He lacks knowledge, wisdom, and what? Understanding. Anyone have family members like that? They just, they're really, yeah, okay. They don't understand. They lack knowledge. So what is this about? Well, because this is the time where there was no more than anywhere from 150 people to 300 in a village, they would have a place where there's one place for everybody to get water. The women would get up in the morning, and they put the jars on their head, and they go and get the water. The men, on the other hand, totally different. The men would go to the group, the city. There would be a fire that they would light, and then everybody would come and get the coals. And that's what this is for. All right? So the men would come and someone would start the coals about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and then have them ready so when people got up in the morning, they needed to cook. So the men would go get the coals, and they'd bring them home to the wife. She had already begotten the water. Then she can sit there and make fire, and then they would cook the breakfast. They would have all the needs met. So the man would take care of the fire. The problem is, if this guy was a jerk, you know what a jerk is, right? A jerk? Y'all know what a jerk is. Anyone know any jerks? Okay. If this guy's a jerk, he wasn't just a jerk to you. He was a jerk to a lot of other people. So what happens is something's going to trigger his judgment, and he can't get fire. He cannot get fire. And if he can't get fire, then how are we going to cook food? Can't cook food. So everything begins with the fire. And if there's no fire, none. Now, you can have a wife and you can have children, but guess what? No fire. You can't cook anything. You can't do anything with it. So he has to go. He can't go to the village fire to get coals. Nope. Negative. Can't do it. Why? Because he's been a jerk. So he cannot join in on that. And the wife, if it's really bad, the wife can't go to the well and get water. She has to stand there and hold her container to maybe someone would open and pour out. The thing is, the people that you harmed are the only ones that can give it to you. So people learn really quick, don't hurt other people. There's going to be what? Consequences. So here this guy, he's been a jerk, and so he has to, right, on the path toward the fire, he has to sit there with a bowl on his head, right? Now, what's interesting, if you notice, this is an Islamic one. I can't find one with Aramaic, but this has scriptures in it. And no matter how he holds this bowl, it's all going to have scripture. He's going to see the scriptures. He's going to see the truths. So he puts it on his head. So he is below the word, right? That's the concept here. Now, he'll be sitting on the side of the road, and this guy has really hurt you really bad, and you got your fire, and you're coming back, and there he's with his little bowl on his head. And you're the one that he messed over. It's up to you if you want to give to him or not. And sometimes he'll go, yeah, I'll give him 1 or 2 coals, right? Because he's been a jerk, so I'm going to give him only 1 coal. But that's not what it's talking about. For in so doing, thou shalt heap, that's an absolute, you will do this, heap coals of fire on his head. The opportunity is to give him all that's in your container into his. Now he has warmth. Now he can go home and start his fire. His wife can boil water. Her wife can do all the things she needs to do to support the family. So it's very humiliating, but he brought it on himself. But this is up to the people that were offended whether they will give to him. And the word says, you give him the knowledge, you give him wisdom, and then you will be heaping coals of fire. All his needs will be met. It will be a total change. Turn you at the reproof. Remember that? Turn you at my reproof, and I will pour out my spirit onto you. That's what that's about. So, and when you see someone who's been a jerk to you, be the opposite. I mean, don't put yourself in harm's way, but they have a need, you supply it because they think you will never do that. You're a jerk. No, I'm not a jerk, and you're misperceiving me. Here's the truth, whether you accept it or not, and here, you have this need, I'm helping you. And they're like, I thought you were a jerk. So why would you help him if you're a jerk? You see what I'm saying? The people have a, what happened what they thought was not true, and now you're showing them something different, and they realize the problem is them and not you. Does that make sense? So that's what this means, the coal, heaping coals of fire. Now, what's the problem is that when people get positions of authority, they get cocky, that kind of thing. So what happens when that happens, people do dumb stuff, right? They go beyond the limit. And this is the problem when we only look at as a priority our job. And they go, okay, I've made it to the boss now. Everybody will obey me. Now we're going to have problems, right? The object is never think of yourself as being superior to anybody. Just focus on where you want to go to be the best you can what? Be. And you're constantly seeking to improve yourself to attain a higher level of understanding. Don't worry about what other people say, what other people think. It doesn't matter. All right? So this problem is that people reach this point and they go, I have attained. You never attain. You're always working and striving to become what? Better. All right, so you understand now, that symbolizes a person getting humble, meek, and they put themselves in that meek position, and then everybody recognizes that that's really them, and then they give them everything back to them. It's just when the humility happens, it's fine. When they got cocky, arrogant is another good word. So hubris is another one. Hubris, they drowned in the rainstorm because their nose stuck up. Now, understanding that, we go into be not overcome evil, but overcome evil. What's evil? That attitude. That attitude you have to deal with. Overcome evil with good. So what does that mean? It's by doing what? Good. Doing what the word says. Well, this guy's a jerk. It doesn't matter. Does he accept the word of God as truth? Is he striving? Is he trying to do better? Then, yeah, all right, then cut him some slack. Like, how often should you forgive your brother? Peter asked Jesus, right? 7 times 7? He goes, no, 70 times 7. On the same subject. That you just keep, if they're trying, and Peter's the perfect example. How many times did he make a mistake? So what is good? Good is doing the word of God. All right. Therefore, if thy enemy hunger, if he lacks knowledge, he doesn't understand what's right or wrong, he doesn't know how to make a decision, then give him that. If he thirsts, if he lacks understanding, then give him the drink. That's what. Remember that understanding I taught you? We went through the whole word. I showed you what hunger is. It deals with lack of doctrine, lack of knowledge. And then thirst deals with water. Water is the thoughts and images of God and not of man. That's not the purpose of this teaching, but I'm just reminding you of what we taught before. So teach and be the example of the Word of God. Does that make sense? So by teaching and then showing people, this is how you do it. Just like riding a bicycle, right? A person says, here, watch. I can get on a bicycle and I can ride. And you go, wow, I can do that. Spin around. Okay, now your turn. All right, you may want to try this. And then you help them be able to ride the bicycle. So now we understand. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with what? Good. Now, everybody think they got this now. Everybody think they really got it. I've explained it to you. You know it. But do you have it? Do you have it? So, in 1 Samuel, I'm going to show you an account. And you're going to tell me if it's what you think it is. If it matches what you've already got in your mind. 1 Samuel 8, 19 and 20. This is the big discussion where they call Samuel in, and Samuel has been the spokesman for God, is Samuel the prophet. And he judges Israel. And what happened is that his sons flaked out, and they don't want Samuel anymore. They want a king. And he says, this is a very bad idea, because only one should rule is God. And people don't want to go to God. They want someone else to go to God for them and then make the judgments. And he's like, no, you don't want this. But nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel. And they said, nay, but we will have a king over us. You may want to read chapter 8 of 1 Samuel to really get the scope of this. It's really intense. But do you want a what? A king over us, that we may also be like all the other nations, and our king may judge us. They don't want to learn the word and then judge themselves. They want someone else to judge them. And fight our what? Battles. So the purpose of a king is to lead in battle. He has to be the best fighter. He has to be the best leader. He has to be able to take on any adversarial situation and take on the enemy. Yes or no? And because of that, under the social contract we have, if you're going to go out there and you're going to fight for us and lay down your life for us, then we're going to put you in a nice palace. We're going to feed you good food. We're going to get you nice and gold and silver to decorate yourself with. And we're going to do all this neat stuff. But you better be doing your part and be ready to lay down your life for us. See, leadership is a social contract. You can't just say, well, I'm a leader. Well, good luck on that. You have to be able to understand you get the responsibility, you get the recognition, you get all the perks, providing you do your part and take full responsibility for everything. And that's a big call. The purpose of a king is to judge and fight the battles for the people. That's why he's in the robes. That's why he's got a nice place to live. That's why he's got all the niceties. But he better be out there ready to fight. When people have senators and congressmen, why they live in nice homes and why they get all the perks? Because they're there to serve us. The purpose of a king is to serve and protect. The purpose of everybody who holds positions of authority is it's equally to take what? Responsibility. It's not one-sided where I get all the bennies and you get nothing. No, the reason that person gets the bennies is to be there to protect, to guard, and to keep. Does that make sense? It's part of the social contract. All right, so this is supposed to represent Goliath, right? Now, what we're talking about here is David and Saul. Now, this is a unique situation, and we're not going to cover Goliath per se, but we are subject matter on these two right here. Both are anointed of God. Saul's anointed of God, and David's anointed of God. Saul was first anointed, and he was made king. Then, because he wouldn't do what God said, David was anointed king. So the question is, who's king? They're both anointed, so who's king? Isn't that an interesting question? Who's the king? So 1 Samuel 17, 8. What's the purpose of a king? To do what? He's got to be out there fighting for the benefit of his people. Yes or no? Yes. Okay. 1 Samuel 17, 8 through 11. And he stood, this is Goliath, and cried to the armies of Israel and said unto them, why are you come out to set your battle in array? Am I not a Philistine? And ye servants to what? Ho, ho, ho! Saul. He's calling out who? Saul. Come on. Got some cookies for you. All right, see? He's calling out Saul. Well, so obviously Saul's ready to answer the call, right? He's the king. Choose you out a man for you. What's he saying? Choose you out a man for you, and let him come down to me. If Saul's not going to do it, if he's too wimpy, then choose someone else. Whoa. And if he be able to fight with me and kill me, then we will be your servants. If I prevail against him and kill him, then ye shall be our servants and serve us. And the Philistines said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man. Where's Saul? This is a quick slap to Saul, is it not? That we may fight together. When Saul, notice the word there is Saul, and all Israel heard these words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly what? Afraid. Greatly afraid. Was that what leadership is supposed to do? Leadership is not to be what? That doesn't mean you don't get fear, but you don't succumb to it. The biggest problem is when How many have ever got emotional or something and made some stupid mistakes? You get emotional and you do something really freaking stupid, right? And then all of a sudden, like, oh, why did I do that? Because your emotions. I have one called Almonds of Fear. You may want to listen to that. It's pretty good teaching. Don't let your emotions control you. You must control your emotions. If you're going to be leadership, you're going to work and speak for God and act for God, then you have to have your emotions under control. You can't let them go wild. 1 Samuel 17:26, and David spoke to the men that stood by him. Now, David heard it. David heard it and said, what? Now, David's only 17. He's just a kid. And David spoke to the men that stood by him, saying, what shall be done to the man that killeth this Philistine, and take away this reproach from Israel? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he's defied the armies of the living God? Now, where's Saul? Hiding. He's full of what? What's David doing? He's out there with the army going, hey, what's up with this? Come on. He hasn't got a chance against you. That's pretty intense. 1 Samuel 17:31-33. And when the words were heard which David spoke, they rehearsed them before Saul. And Saul said, bring the kid up here. Let me see him. Send for him. And David said to Saul, David says this, let no man's heart. Wait, what man's heart? Who specifically is supposed to be doing the fighting here? Saul. Now, normally, if people say, well, you got any courage, you tell them like it is. You stupid king, you should get your ass out there and fight him. Right? Or he should be talking about everybody else. Well, how come the king's not out there? He's an idiot. He's stupid. He's a coward. He should be out there fighting. David never did that. Never did that. Never spoke a word against Saul. Not once. Because he sees him as God says. Now, why is Saul screwed up? Obviously, he lacks what? Knowledge, wisdom, and what? Understanding. And what David's going to do is he's going to act the way the king should act. He's going to take charge, and he's going to take on Goliath. Why? Because the people's hearts are totally crashed. Their hearts are, like it says here, let no man's heart fail him. Heart, that's his perception of reality, fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine. Who's the king here? Remember, I told you both of these are anointed to be king. Who's really the king? David is the real king. Even though the first was Saul, but the one who's really showing himself to be the king is David. He's only 17. I'll take him out. And Saul's like, yeah, right. It's like, and he says, let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant, now he calls Saul his master. That's intense. Total utmost respect, never said anything negative to Saul, yet it was Saul's job to do this. You see the difference here? He's giving him, he's providing the truth. He's providing the example that everyone needs to what? See. Because their hearts have failed. Rather than condemning Saul, rather than putting him down, rather than making him look stupid, he says, I got it. I got it. And Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against this Philistine. Well, are you? David didn't say that, though, did he? Thou art not able to go against this Philistine and to fight with him, for thou art but a child. The word youth is a child. And he was a man of war from his childhood. And what does David respond? All right, bozo king, you go out there and fight it. No, he didn't do that. David responded unto Saul, thy servant, again, respect, honor towards Saul. Thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came out a lion. Now how many of you ever had a bad day? Ever a bad day? Right? Think about all the bad days you had. You wake up in the morning, the car won't start, you know. You go to call your boss at work, and the phone won't work. The battery's dead. I mean, you ever had a bad day? Right? So what do you do when you get a bad day? Right? I mean, if anyone have that situation? I got in my car to go work on a piece of equipment down at the courthouse, so the server, and I get in there and I just get out, I locked my door, right? And I forgot my keys were in there, locked them. Then I went out there to get in there, and I left my security badge in the car, and it was raining. That was a bad day. Then when they finally let me in, it was in a 62-degree room to keep everything cold. I'm sitting there freezing for 2 hours. Then I had to call someone to break my car so I can get. Anyway, it was a bad day, right? But we've all had bad days, right? But what happens? You know what a bad day is? Check this out. Thy servant, okay. Yep, up. Yeah, okay. Thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion. Now, what would you do if you opened the door of your house and there was a lion going around and looking at you as if you were a freaking meatball, right? Like you were some enchilada or something, right? You're like, yeah. You're like, ah! Would you call that a bad day? But David didn't call it a bad day. I mean, picture that. You open your door and there's like, oh, great. Looking at you like, if you're still alive. But David didn't look at it as a bad day. He's like, all right, a chance for me to prove God's word. A chance to prove God's word. See the difference in orientation here? Slew the lion all right, and smote him and delivered him out of his mouth. And when he rose up against me, bad idea, I caught him by his beard and smote him. Took out his dagger and went boom and killed him. And of course with lion, if you grab him by his beard, he can't bite you. You just bang, take him out. That's intense. Just as long as you hold on to that beard, he can't. There was a situation, I forget what country it was in Africa. Everybody has watches at night to keep the cheetahs away, because the cheetahs will take out children and livestock. So they had these people that do rounds every couple hours. And this one guy was like in his late 60s, early 70s. And he's out there doing the path, and he's got his sword with him. And he's walking around, and a cheetah, went up there and jumped on him and knocked him, and he lost his sword. And it was right there, and it was ready to bite his neck. And he was like, God, what do I do? And God showed him, put his fist in the mouth of the cheetah. So the cheetah was like, he's like, puts his whole fist in there, and he tries to keep it in there, and the thing's wiggling away, and he grabs a hold of the tongue. And as the animal kept forcing away, he pulled the tongue out of the mouth, and the thing bled to death and died. He killed the cheetah with his bare hands. Pardon? No, believe me, if you'd be surprised how much strength you have when you're scared to death. When you're really scared, you got some strength you never knew you had. So he just went in there and grabbed a hold of that tongue and just like grabbed into it. And of course, it was chewing up his arm with the teeth, but there was nothing it could do. And the more it pulled, the more he pulled, and then all of a sudden, he's got the tongue in his hand. And the cheetah's all dying, right? So, I mean, most of us will go, oh, don't hurt me. No, that's not what, you understand? The question is, what do you do when you have a bad day? See, what we forget is that we have God's presence in us. And he was a person that really believed the word. He was the hero of the village because he killed the cheetah in his bare hands. So he just reached in there, put his whole hand in there, grabbed a hold of that tongue, and the cheetah just all of a sudden went into a panic because it couldn't breathe because his fist was in the air passage, trying to break away, and he just held on tight. And finally, out came the tongue, and the cheetah died. So this is where The object here is don't worry about what happens to you. Can be concerned about hearing what God says to do about it. I know it's hard to believe, but God's a lot smarter than all of us put together. Is this making sense? So he says, I slew both the lion. All right, okay. So took a lamb out of the flock, so I went out after him. He went after the flock, smote him, delivered it out of his mouth, and when he rose up against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him and slew him. Hey, that's pretty cool. Thy servant slew both the lion and the what? No, I mean, there's a bear in here too. Now, bears, when they're on all fours, they're only about this high. But when they stand up on their hind legs, they're big boys. They reach about a good 8-9 feet tall, and they can be really intimidating. So not only do you grab your front door and there's a lion going, okay, that's intense. You run over the back door and there's a bear going, now what are you going to do? That's a bad day. No, not for David. Wasn't a bad day for David at all. So, thy servant, what? Okay, read what it says. Go. All right, what does that verse say? Killed the lion and bear. Who killed it? David did. Now we got another verse. All right, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he hath defied the armies of the living God. And David said, moreover, the Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. No, wait a minute. Who killed the lion and the bear? It says here David. Here it says, he turns around and says God. Which one is it? Is it God or is it David? Both, exactly. David was able to kill him because God told him what to do. When you follow God's guidance, it doesn't make sense, but do it anyway, and it always works. Always works. The Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, go, and the force be with you. That kind of thing. Now this is the lion that David, not the actual lion, but the same species. Now, if you saw that coming at you, would it be intimidating? If it's going, and he's ready to pounce. He's coming in for the kill, right? I'm going to ruin your whole day look, right? I'm going to ruin your whole day look. That's the lion. If you see that in the lion, I would suggest you run like hell, because he'll probably outrun you anyway. So what the hell are you doing there? But you understand, that's what David saw coming at him. Now, the only problem, he doesn't have much of a beard to grab, does he? But you understand, there's nothing to grab. Yeah, but that's intense, isn't it? Obviously, he's young. He's not old enough yet to have a beard. You got to have a beard. You got to be older. Anyway. But if you had something like this coming at you, would that intimidate you? If something like this was coming at you, would you say that was a bad day? David didn't look at it like that. All right, it's an opportunity to believe God. Do it, yeah! Because he's supposed to be the king. And he needs those opportunities to prove God's word to himself and to others. Yes or no? All right, so he killed the lion, and then he took out the what? Oh, yes. That's what everybody needs to see. Not like going through a trail and there's this bear rears up and you're like, oh, no. And that's a big boy. That guy, those paws are this big. And they can knock your head off. Literally, one swipe, bang. They're bad news. People say, stay away from them, especially at certain times of year. Don't go near these bears. They'll ruin your whole day. So he took the lion and he took the bear out. Is that a progression from here to there? I would say so. Because a lion won't be able to handle a bear. So a bear is a little bit more intense. And those are some pretty bad claws, if you can see them here. This is how he catches, like fish and stuff. If he can't get his face in there to grab it, then he'll, and the claws go right into it. They also tear logs apart. These are intense. So, would you say that was a bad day? Would you say that was a bad day? How about something that looks like this? You understand? That would not be another bad day. But he's like, all right, I got this one too. Wait, you understand? Oh, no, I got him. Oh, him? I got him. I got him. So there's nothing else. I mean, you understand? How do you get better at something? You take it on, and God shows you. God will help prepare you for it. God kind of knew ahead of time everything we're going to get into. So kind of like be prepared so that when you're ready to rock. So how good was David with his sling? Superb. How good was he with his dagger? Superb. How good was he with his staff? Excellent. So he only didn't have a lot, but what he had, he was an expert in. He was ready. And God can work with what you got. The object is give God a larger selection. Give him a larger selection to work with. This making sense? All right. 1 Samuel 17, 34 through 37. And David said to Saul, thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came out a lion and a bear and took it out of the flock. I went out after him, smote him, and delivered him out of his mouth. And when he rose against me, I caught him by his beard, smote him, and slew him. Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear. And this dingwa, uncircumcised Philistine, shall be as one of them, seeing he hath defied the armies of the living God. The Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion, out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of the Philistine. Now, remember, the purpose of a king is to judge by God's guidance and to fight the battles for the people. The king is supposed to be sharp spiritually to go to God to make the right decisions and to take the correct what? Actions. How many are, but you've got to have a relationship with God. Anyone here have a relationship with God? So what happens? God gives you an opportunity to grow, and you say, oh, that's not very comfortable. I want to stay in my chair. I just want to sit in my comfy chair and just watch television. No, God gives you an opportunity. Act on it. Take it. Always take the challenge, because God will be there to help you overcome it. Who accepted concerning David and Saul, who accepted God's preparation to be king? Did Saul? Nope. Did David? Yep. Every challenge was brought up to David. David took it. And God helped him rise to become, because God knew he'd have to face Goliath. David had no clue. Who did not? Saul. He didn't have any experience in this whatsoever. Who took every challenge? David. Who refused the challenges? Saul. People say, why don't I get revelation? Why don't you get off the comfy chair and act on God's word? Does that make any sense? Put yourself in an uncomfortable situation. Facing a lion is uncomfortable, or if you don't believe me. Facing a bear is uncomfortable. Facing someone who's 10 feet tall is also uncomfortable when he's got a big razor blade in his hand. But you understand, you need to allow yourself to be in uncomfortable situations so that you can overcome them. Take the challenge. Right. You stay in a comfortable situation, you're not going to grow. You ever seen a weightlifter? You know what a weightlifter is? Muscle maker guys, right? What do? They just curl 3 pounds a couple days. No, they go from 3 to what? To 5 to 10 to 25 to 50 to 100 to 150, and they keep increasing it. They want the greater challenge. What about your spirituality? No, I want to stay a little baby. You see the problem? Saul spiritually never grew up. David, though 17, grew up. So in Luke 14:11, for whosoever exalts himself shall be what? Abased. And he that humbleth himself shall be what? You see how that works? Did Saul Humble himself? No, I'm the king. All right, yeah, all right. So you know how to wear, fancy clothes. You know how to eat with gold utensils. You know how to live in the castle. But can you take out a lion? Can you take out a bear? Can you fight Goliath? The answer in all those was no, no, no. What do you think God did for David before he took out the lion? Probably wolves. Before the wolves, what you see what I'm saying? God would work him up to the point where he's ready to handle it. Now, I want you to memorize. Now, if you can, if any verse in the Bible you're going to memorize, I want you to memorize this one. Besides, it's not the only one. Trust in the Lord with all thy heart, lean not to thine own understanding, and all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will show. I understand that. But 1 Corinthians 10:13 has been, every time I get in a situation, I'm like, oh, damn it, I can't handle this. That's way beyond my billet description. It's gone beyond my qualifications. No. Take it on. Go to God, take it on. So, and God will show you. So here we go. Because we're always tempted to, our emotions like, oh, this is more than I can handle. Don't worry about that. 1 Corinthians 10:13. All right? There hath no temptation taken to you, but such as common to man. So whatever happens to you has already happened to someone else. So don't sweat it. You're not the first person this had to happen to. No temptation taking you, but such as common to man. But the difference is God is consistent. He's faithful. He will never slip on this. What will he never slip on? Who will never suffer, that word suffer means allow, you to be tempted above that you are what? Boy, if anything else, this has saved my little bootay a lot. Every time I think, I'm like, oh my God, there's no way. Yep, there it is, 1 Corinthians 10:13. And that's what I tell myself. That's what the word says. So if God says I can handle it, then guess what? I can handle it. Like, oh, but you don't have any. God said I can handle it. And then as you take action on it, then you find out, it isn't that bad after all. You're like, wow, that was simple. What happens is our emotions magnify things way out of proportion than what they should. And we lose a lot of the opportunities for growth and development. Who will not allow you to be tempted above which you are. God will not allow it. So if it's happening to you, you can handle it. Repeat after me. I got it. Right? Right. Well, God lets you put you in a situation you cannot handle. The answer is what? No. So if God says you can handle it, guess what? All right, say it. I got it. All right. So when the lion appeared, what did David say? I got it. When the bear appeared, what did he say? I got it. When Goliath was there, what did he say? I got it. All right. See it? That's the word of God that you live by. God will not put you in a situation you cannot handle. Believe me, if he believes you can't handle it and you try and take it on, he will make sure you don't get involved in it. Something will come up and you can't get in it. But if God opens the door for you to get in it, take it. Do it. But, here we go. But, well, I don't think I can handle it. God says you can handle it. I don't think so. I don't feel comfortable. I like that kind of crap. Now what? God's going to force you out? No, he's not going to force you. What do you do? Well, if you really think that you're smarter than God, and you really think God's not going to go against you, can't handle it, it's impossible, you're going to fail, then God's not going to let you be a part of it. Let someone else handle it. So, if you really think that you can't handle it, but with the temptation will make a way to what? Why? That you may be able to bear it, handle it. He'll get you out of it. If you think you can't handle it, all right. But you miss out on all the growth, all the development. People going, man, you're fearless. No, I just happen to believe the word. I'm not fearless. I got a brain. I understand what I'm getting myself into, but I also know what the word says. So I have no what? Doubt. I may have a lack of knowledge in some areas, and I make sure I understand, but I'm on it. Does that make sense? And people, the majority of people, are afraid. They will do nothing. And to have someone like you who will take action, that's people like, wow. To do your job responsibly is stress. If your job is stressing you out, it's because you're looking at it as a responsibility that you don't want to have. But if you're looking at it differently, as fulfilling your purpose, it's a step toward. You think, I got to face a lion. Oh, shit. I got to face a bear. Oh, my gosh. I got to face Goliath. No, that's not how David looked at it. Man, I've been waiting for this challenge. I'll take it. I'm on it. Then the next challenge happens. I got that one. You see how you make yourself better and better? You can talk to a weightlifter. He doesn't decrease his weights. He what? Increases it. Look at an athlete. If he jumps jumps over a bar, he doesn't lower it every time he jumps. He what? Raises it. You've got to get yourself prepared to accomplish the impossible. We can't do the impossible. Jesus says, the works that I do shall ye do what? But that shall is not up to God. It's up to who? You. To do your job responsibly is stress. To fulfill each step towards your purpose is passion. You understand the difference between passion and stress? For Saul, Goliath was stressful. For David, it was like, yeah. He was going to take out Goliath. He was going to take out the whole Philistine army all by himself. He was convinced he could do it. Because once he took out Goliath, the rest of it, they're all going to be scared to death of him. And they all did. They all ran. And he was like, I'm on them. And one guy's chasing the freaking whole army. But you see what happened? They were scared. He just took out their champion. And he's only 17. Stand by when he gets to 20. Holy crap, when he gets to 25. And David had that purpose. He knows where he's going. He knows what he's going to be capable of. And that's his what? Passion. And therefore he has no what? No stress. Passion is different from stress. Same situation. It's how you look at it. Does that make sense? So look at your job, your responsibility is different. Look at it like stepping stones. How make yourself better, sharper, more capable. That verse is powerful. So let's review some points. Number 1, know and what? Teach and what? Do. Because people can hear the words, but they don't understand how it connects until you what? Do it. Then they understand. Number 2, prepare for challenges, and when they occur, what? Take them. You're not here to be a more than victims. You're supposed to be a more than what? Conquerors. Big difference. Got nothing to conquer. Something's wrong somewhere. Number 3, God knows you can do it. But if you think the challenge is greater than you can handle, God will make a way out for you. So everybody got that? That's what God will do. That's what he does do. Now, there's some things you really can't handle, like being in an airplane that's crashing. That's very disheartening, right? But you go to God and say, God, we're going to make it. And God says, yeah. I said, okay, cool. Then you tell everybody, hey, we're going to make it. How do you know? How do you know? We're going to make it. Everything's fine. Airplane's going, yeah. You ever been in a crashing airplane? It's really impressive. It's really generates your blood flow. We didn't crash, by the way. We came close. We finally, the other engine come online and picked us up. But both engines went, like really freaked everybody out, especially the pilots. You know what those props are for? To keep the pilots cool, because the moment they stop, they sweat like crazy. Understand, know when to teach. That's that giving of water and hunger, right? Giving something to eat. That's that know when to teach. They need an example. Just giving them thoughts and images. The water is not good without them knowing how to act. David did that for all of Israel. And guess what? They saw him do it. Everybody wanted to do it. And they took out some really intense. One guy took out like 5 or 6 people. Another one took out a small army. The other one took out, they took out big guys that were like 3 times their size. Goliath's brothers were taken out because guys said, well, if David can do it, I can do it. And they inspired everybody. See, we're not here to be, a bookend. We're here to inspire. And by us acting, it inspires people. And they go, what is it you know that I don't? Now you can teach them. Does that make sense? Now they're hungry because they see what you've got, they don't. Have you noticed that? People have commented on you. They said, hey, how is it you can do this? How is it you have this perception? How is it it doesn't affect you what's going on? It's like, you understand? That's that skill that you're developing. So when God needs you in a situation, you'll be able to say, I'm on it. God shows it to you. I got it. That's why I say you're God's what? Best. All right. Now, of course, if you think that, I've been watching a lot of television lately. I haven't had the word, but I don't know. I'm not like, I don't think I can do it. Then guess what? Okay. But you understand, you need a daily word. You can go without, how long can you go without food? How long can you go without water? 3 days, maybe 4 days without water, maybe 10 days without food without it having an effect on you. Same thing without the word. No word on a regular basis, your strength is really diminished. Your ability to take on challenges is greatly reduced. Keep your diet spiritually, what the word says you are, what you can do. Let's see if you remember the verse. Do y'all remember? Oh, I'm showing it to you. Duh. All right. Y'all got it? Everybody got it? Okay. Ready? Go. There is no temptation taken you, but such as common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above which you are able. But with the temptation, make a way to escape, that you might be able to bear it. Did I memorize it? Yes, I did. 1 Corinthians 10:13. I love that verse. I love that verse. I have it tattooed on my eyelids behind so I can close my eyes to see it. No, I'm joking. Understand? Take your challenges. Ask God. If God says no, then don't. If he says yeah, then trust God. God ain't going to lie to you. All right. God wants us to have a stressful life. When you got a purpose and what you're striving for and to become, you push the stress right out of your life. Because you have a vision of yourself of where you're going to be. And that's your passion. All right. So now we're going to go into Malchus and Peter, right? This is really intense. Because just like we had David and Saul, we have Malchus and Peter. And what happens is people don't let the Bible interpret itself. And you've got to let the Bible interpret itself to get the full scope, the full meaning. Everybody ready? Yes. Okay, cool. All right. This is the prayer right before they come and take him away. Jesus is going to have a prayer, and then they're going to take him away. As he said, I must, what? Suffer many things to the scribes and Pharisees, and be what? And elders, and be killed, and be what? Raised the third day. Well, now it's coming down to 0 hour. This is when they're going to take him away. And that's going to be 14 hours of torture. And then with ending in crucifixion. This is, at any time, do you think that might be a little bit more than you can handle? It's continually increasing pain and suffering. Ending in death. He's got to pay for all our mistakes, by the way. That's a lot, especially on my situation. So he's praying, and his prayer is really awesome. So he's facing temptation is, I know that's what the Word of God says, but, right, your emotions dictate what you should do, and you got to hold back and say, no, it's not best. All right, so in Luke 22, 39 through 46, and he came out and went as he went to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples followed him. And when he was at the place, he said unto them, pray ye that ye enter not into what? Temptation. When you see that, it means don't let your emotions dictate what you do. That's what it means. Don't go by your intellect or emotions. I'm not saying you don't use your intellect. You don't have emotions, but don't let it dictate. Let the Word dictate. Does that make sense? What does the Word say? What does God show you? And he was withdrawn from them about a stone's cast and knelt down and prayed, saying, Father, if thou be willing, remove this cup from me. What cup? That he's about to be going through 14 hours of torture, ending in crucifixion and death, and be raised to what? And he's like, anyone ever thought, well, today I feel like getting killed? No, it's like, no one ever wakes up that way. But he's looking at like, I've done everything according to God's word. If I do this, I cannot stay what? Dead, and I will take everybody with me. They'll all not stay dead. He's not doing it for himself. He's doing it for God and for God's people, so that they don't stay dead. How many would be able to do that? Saying, Father, if thou wilt remove this cup from me, nevertheless, not my will, but thine be done. And there appeared an angel unto him from heaven, strengthening him. And being in agony, he prayed more earnestly. Why is he in agony? Because his emotions are overwhelming him. How many ever faced death? How many have faced it more than once? What happens? You know it's the end of the line. What do? How do you look at it? How do you respond to it? It's not easy. Emotions erupt in all kinds of ways. And being in agony, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was as it was great drops of blood falling down to the ground. And when he rose up from prayer and was come to his disciples, he found them sleeping for sorrow. And said unto them, why sleep you? Arise, pray, lest you enter into what? Unless you let your emotions dictate your actions. So now we begin. This is where, and every single account in the Gospels is where that prayer ends, and now we begin here. The subject matter is Malchus and Peter. Because the subject, remember I taught you, it's knowing the word and then being the best what? Example. Being a leader. The word Malchus means king. Example. Malchus happens to be, he is the servant of the high priest. We're going to learn all about him, letting the Bible interpret what? Itself. Right? Matthew 26, 47 through 59. We're beginning in Matthew. And while he yet spoke, lo, Judas, one of the 12, came, and with him a great multitude with swords and staves from the chief priests and elders of the people. All right. Who are these? These are the temple guards. There's 3 shifts. The day shift has already ended. These are the day shift troop. The day shift of the guards. Now they're the ones that are being accessed. Altogether there's 3 shifts. This is the morning shift, and now they've been called upon to take Jesus and put him and bring him to be put to death. All right, got it? Now he that betrayeth him gave him a sign, saying, whomsoever I shall kiss, the same is he, hold him fast. And forthwith he came to Jesus and said, Hail, Master, and kissed him. And Jesus said unto him, Friend, wherefore art thou come? Then came they and laid hands on Jesus and took him. And behold, one of them, which was with Jesus, stretched out his hand, drew his sword, and struck a servant of the high priest, and smote off his what? Ear. He deserved it. Really? Who is this person that responded emotionally and did this? He deserves it. He's trying to take Jesus to be crucified. Didn't Jesus say it was necessary for him to be crucified? So if you obstruct it, what are you obstructing? Then said Jesus unto him, put up again thy sword unto its place, for all they that take the sword shall perish with the sword. Thinkest thou that I cannot now pray for my Father, and he shall presently give me more than 12 legions of angels? But how then shall the scriptures be what? Fulfilled. That thus it must be. In that same hour Jesus said to the multitude, are you come out as against a thief with swords and staves for to take me? Now here's what's the humdinger. I sat daily. Daily. He taught his disciples daily. He taught in the temple daily. And these is the daytime what? Guards. They sat and listened to Jesus teach every single day. Do they know the scriptures? Yes. All the guards are all Levitical. They all belong to the Levitical priesthood. They all know the scriptures. They all know the coming Messiah. They're all aware of it. So you can imagine being a guard on duty, and Jesus shows up, and you hear something you've never heard before in your entire life. A teaching that hits you in the heart and your soul, and you know that it's right. That's intense. He sought and taught them what? Daily. They had no place to go. They couldn't walk away from it. They had to stand there in position on a post. So they heard the word what? Daily. And you laid no hold on me. They didn't stop him then. But all this was done that the scriptures of the prophets might be fulfilled. Then all the disciples forsook him and fled. Now, I'm focusing on the temple guards, because that's what's being employed here, to take Jesus and take him to be put to death. Now we go to Mark. So Jesus has his prayer. Now we're going into this section. And immediately while he had spoke, cometh Judas, one of the 12, with him a great multitude with swords and staves from the chief priests, scribes, and the elders. So here it is, short swords and staves. Now you understand, the sun is already set. This is evening time. So here you got this mass of people coming to get Jesus to take him and escort him to be put to death. So normally, if you're going to capture somebody, you don't send a freaking army to capture him. Right? And the reason that probably they thought, well, maybe there'd be a defense position. People might want to defend him and keep him from being taken. So these guys are all ready with riot gear, so the whole thing to take Jesus. Now, people say, well, Levitical Levites don't have skills in armor. All BS they do. Look, BS they don't. The situation is Rome, for over 200 years, almost 400, has literally harassed and instigated problems with the Jews. The Jews can't attack a Roman, but if the Roman attacks them, they are to guard themselves. They are to parry their thrusts. They are to block their thrusts. They're supposed to be able to defend themselves. And if you ever read Maccabees 1 and 2, it shows you what they went through. The harassment from the Roman soldiers. And so the only defense they had was the temple guards. So the high priest, the servant of the high priest doesn't say servant. It's the word that we know as Azir. He is the one that's the steward of all the temple's armed guards. So is he skilled in defense? Yes. Is he skilled in combat? Yes. Is he skilled in administration? Yes. And is he skilled in multiple languages? Yes. He's skilled in all the arts to be one in charge. So yes, he can defend himself. So, and he went to him straight away and said, Master, and kissed him. And they laid hands on him and took him. And one of them that stood by drew a sword and smote a servant of the high priest and cut off his ear. That's interesting. And Jesus answered and said unto them, Are you come out as against a thief with swords and with staves to take me? I was daily. There it is again. He's been teaching them what? These are the same people that listen to him teach day after day after day after day. They have to listen. They're at their posts. Now we go to Luke. Luke 22, 47 through 53. And while he yet spoke, behold, a multitude, this is not a small group, and he that was called Judas, one of the 12, went before them, drew near unto Jesus to kiss him. But Jesus said unto him, Judas, betrayest thou the Son of Man with a kiss? And when they which were about him saw what would follow, they said unto him, Lord, shall we smite with the sword? Are they going by their emotions? Did he say he had to be taken? Did he say he would have to suffer many things? Yes. So what are they saying? Shall we smite with the sword? All right. Didn't he tell them, pray that you enter in not into what? Now that prosuche, remember prayer? Prosuche, you let your heart, your soul, and your mind to God, so God is the one guiding you, not your emotions. And one of them smote the servant of the high priest and cut off his right ear. Now we know which ear it was. It's the right one. And Jesus answered and said, Suffer ye thus far. And he touched his ear, and what? Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. All right, give me a whoa. Whoa. Now, Jesus did a lot of miracles, except, and he did it in Capernaum and everything, but when he gets to one place, nothing happens. Why? Because in Matthew 13:58, and he did not many mighty works there. He did no healings. He did no miracles because of their what? Apistis. They didn't accept what the word says about him or what anything he was saying. So, in other words, for him to be healed, he has to accept the truth and accept that Jesus is the Messiah. This changes everything. He's not the one that's just been, him and his temple guards haven't just been listening. They've accepted it as truth. They've accepted Jesus as the Messiah. That changes everything. All right, you're the one that has been waiting and been taught your whole life the coming Messiah, and he shows up. Everybody's been telling he's going to show up about this time, and there he is. And you can't go anywhere because you are committed to the what? You want to be with him. You want to be with his teachings. You want to hear more. You want to be a disciple, but you are a temple what? You cannot go. You have a commitment to the temple. But I assure you, their hearts want to be with Jesus if this is what the word says, and it does. So of all the disciples, everybody gets it, and they cannot leave their positions. They cannot. So they want to be with Jesus. Now they get their choice. They finally get to be with Jesus, but they're there to take him to be put to death. How would you feel? Then said Jesus unto the chief priests and captains of the temple, the administrators in charge. These are several heads. That was the whole day shift and probably the later shift, because the night shift now is guarding the temple. And the elders which were come out to him, be ye come out as against a thief with swords and staves? When I was daily with you in the temple, you stretched forth no hand against me, but this is your hour and the power of darkness. Now, this is intense, is it not? If you were that temple, anyone in the temple guards, how would you feel? You've listened to his teachings. You truly recognize that he truly is the Messiah that's been promised. And you want to be with him and you can't. And now you get your chance to be with him because you're the one taking him to be put to death. How would you feel? John 18:3 through 11. Judas then, having received a band of men and officers from the chief priests and Pharisees, cometh thither with lanterns. I told you it was nighttime. Lanterns. Why do they have lanterns? Why do they have torches? Why? So that Jesus can hear them what? They've gathered together and they've got all their armor on. They got all this stuff and they got their lanterns so you can't miss here they come. They can see them coming. That big crowd. I mean, we're talking, multitude, about 1,000. Here they're coming. And so that Jesus, and they're making all kinds of racket. Ching, 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 ching. They got their torches. They're there so that to warn Jesus, it's time to what? Get a new zip code. We're coming for you. I mean, if you were the one that had to go get him, what would you do? Wouldn't you be, let's have some torches. Everybody have 2 torches. Yes, everybody has 2 torches. Let's everybody make lots of racket on the way up so Jesus can know we're coming. How many would do that? Wouldn't you do that? Give him a way out? Give him a way out? And Jesus, therefore, knowing all things that come upon him, went forth and said unto them, they showed up. Can you imagine didn't you hear us coming? That's the first thing you'd say, what's wrong with you? You can't hear? We let you know. Didn't you see the signs? Didn't you see the lights? So they show up, right? So, Jesus, therefore, knowing all things should come on, went and said unto them, whom do you seek? We're looking for Jesus of... wait a minute. They've been watching him every single day teach the word. We're looking for Jesus of Nazareth. What would you do? Jesus said unto them, I'm he. Oh, no, not what I wanted to hear. That's not what you're supposed to say. And Judas also, which betrayed him, stood with them. And as soon as they had said unto him, I am he, they went backward and fell to the ground. They bowed to him, head to his feet. All the temple guards did. They all bowed to him. How would you, if you were the one taking to be put to death, what would you do? He goes, I'm he. And everybody just bows. It's Jesus' choice. What did I teach you? 1 Corinthians 10:13. There is no temptation taken to you but such as common to man. But God is faithful, who will not have you tempted but which you are able. But with the temptation, make a way to what? There it is. For Jesus. Didn't he pray? If there's any way out of this, God says, okay, if this is too much for you, here's your way out. If he did it for Jesus, will he do it for you? Question is, what is Jesus going to do? Is he going to take the way out? Those men have already said, you're in charge, sir. We follow your orders. Now, if you were Jesus, what would you do? See, we read the Bible, we read it, we're just like, no. It's not how you read the Bible. They went backward and fell to the ground. They just that's the deepest what? Bow. That's the highest level of respect and honor. They bowed to him. When Christ returns this time, I'm bowing. My head's going to his feet. Same way. No question. Then asked them again. They're up faces to the ground. Faces to the ground. And he asked them again, whom seek ye? And they said, with the faces to the ground, Jesus of Nazareth. Like, hint, hint. We're here. Jesus knows. Jesus answered, I have told you that I am he. I am he. If therefore you seek me, let these go their way. That the saying might be fulfilled which you spoke, of them which thou gavest me, I have lost none. Then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it and smote the high priest's servant and cut off his ear. Oh, bravo. How would you feel? You feel bad enough already taking Jesus to be put to death, and now the other disciple that you've seen, now apparently he didn't recognize you, that you were there at the temple. Anyway, now the thing is, Peter has to pull his dagger. The word sword could be short or a long sword, right? Just one word. This is like a dagger, right? So he pulls it, and he's got to be the baddest dude of all of them, right? And he's going to let Peter pull his dagger and cut off his ear and do absolutely what? Nothing. Let it be done. Why? Because he will not harm or respond to someone who's a disciple. Yet Peter has no problem cutting off his ear, and probably will cut off anything else he could. You see the problem? I mean, Malchus is one dude that's just like, if you looked in the dictionary under awesome, he would have his picture there, right? Awesome. Because he's seeing everything from whose perspective? God's. And he will not, because he could have just parried that and bang, and Peter would have been like, oh, shoot. It would have been over. But he didn't do that. He didn't even parry it. He just let it happen. And of course, Jesus had to repair the damage. And smote the high priest's servant and cut off his right ear. The servant's name was what? That's why it's there. That's why his name is there. Because he is an example. And that's Malchus. That's the Greek translation of Malek. He is a administrator. He is as a king. That's intense. Then said Jesus unto Peter, put up your sword into its sheath. The cup which my Father hath given me, shall I not drink it? That man must have been through a lot of emotional turmoil. To want to be with Jesus and to be the one chosen to put him to death is rough. To take him to be tortured and crucified, the very thing that he's desired his whole life. All the temple guards are extremely committed, and the Messiah is here, and now they have to take him to be put to death. But does Malchus understand? Yes. But he had to provide Jesus a way what? Out. Would you have done any different? It would be Jesus' call. He's drinking it. Remember I told you, drinking, right? Taking that's what's truth. I receive it and I what? Act on it. 1 Corinthians 10:13. Y'all got it now? Yes. All right. Let's try it. Ready? Go.
There hath no temptation taken you but such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that you are able, but will with the temptation also make
right. There's no temptation taken you but such as common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above which you are able. But with the temptation make a way to escape that you might be able to bear it. I know that like the back of my hand. Kind of, sort of. Yeah. You understand the intensity of this? There's nothing that comes in your life that God already hadn't foreseen and tried to prepare you for. That's why you've got to take every challenge. You've got to. Become better than what you've been. Become better than you are. Let God be the one directing your growth and development. He is the husbandman. Remember I taught that? I really admire him. That's how you overcome evil. You, first of all, if other people are going by their emotions and making, you stay calm. You stay together. And don't go by your emotions. Be the calming of the storm, not a part of the storm. Does that make sense? That's how you overcome evil. You have the best examples. That's the true way of life. All right. In case you didn't know it, you are God's what? Best. Yeah.